Good morning, it is 9/11. We're back here. You're watching Minnesota Live. In March, former U.S. Attorney Jessica Aber died in her sleep in Michigan. She was just 43 years old. The cause was epilepsy, a condition that affects 3 million Americans.
To get a better understanding of epilepsy and really the broader category of seizures, we've asked KSTP health expert Dr. Arkell Georgiou to explain what causes them and what to do if someone around you is having a seizure. Dr. Arkell, nice to have you here.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. So let's start by just simply talking about the difference between seizures and epilepsy, because we were having this conversation yesterday with the producer putting the segment together, and it was all about epilepsy. And I said, you can have a seizure and not have epilepsy.
Absolutely. And seizures are much more common than epilepsy. So a seizure is abnormal activity, like this electrical burst of activity in the brain. Epilepsy is when you have 2 or more unprovoked, meaning unknown cause, seizures in a series of time. So a seizure doesn't have to ever happen again, but if it does happen again, if it happens 2 or more times and you don't know the cause and is not reversible, you have epilepsy.
What are specifically some of the seizures? What's happening with your body for you to have a seizure?
Sure. So as I said, it's electrical activity. So what causes that? Anything that irritates the brain. Most common cause, stroke, head trauma, concussions, a brain infection, a brain tumor. A really common cause of seizures is a body chemistry imbalance. If your blood sugar goes too low, if your sodium goes too low, medications and drugs, even when you take them as prescribed, like Benadryl, can in some people cause seizures because they have a lower threshold to that type of medication. Alcohol withdrawal, common. I was in a bar in Boston and somebody was drinking a lot and just seized right in front of me. Wow. And then there is a category of people that have seizures and we don't know why, and that happens too.
What does a seizure look like? Because I feel like on TVs they can come across as very dramatic. Do they always look like that?
Oh, absolutely not. It is common. We call them tonic-clonic seizures. It's that shaking and jerking and stiffening. That happens. That's called a grand mal seizure or a tonic-clonic seizure, but it can also be much more subtle than that. So somebody could have repetitive movements like lip smacking. Somebody could be even more subtle than that. They could be confused or wandering or spacey. In fact, children are sometimes diagnosed with what's called petit mal seizures or absence seizures because they're just like seeming spacey. They're not paying attention. They're having a seizure. Sometimes people could fall. That's not necessarily fainting. It could be confused with a fainting episode, but sometimes it can be a seizure.
So if you think somebody's having a seizure, they're checking some of these boxes here, what should you do?
Well, the first thing that you should do is make sure that you don't try to control them. You should try to protect them. So just remember that line. If somebody is having a tonic-clonic jerking seizure, you might want to try to protect them by holding on to them. Do not do that. Ease them to the ground, turn their head to the side with their mouth pointing down so you can protect their airway. Clear the space around them so that there's less they can hurt themselves with. Put something under their head because remember, they're jerking and they could cause head trauma. Take off eyeglasses, they could crack and hurt their face, and then, loosen anything around their neck. What you don't want to do is try to get them to stop. That could hurt them and it could hurt you. It's a very powerful jerking movement. When you should call 911 is if it's the first seizure ever, or you don't know if the person has a seizure disorder or if they're seizing for more than 5 minutes. The situation that we heard about with the U.S. attorney can happen. It's not usually that tragic. That is rare. The more common danger associated with seizures is that they get injured while they're having a seizure.
I think when people see seizures, and I've seen a couple in my life, it really scares you to watch it and you think, oh my gosh, this person is going to die. But are all seizures dangerous? Do you know what I'm saying? Like to the person that's having them? Because I think that's like the panic and everyone's like, call 911 immediately, right?
Right. So as I mentioned, they generally aren't dangerous in terms of life-threatening unless they're longer than 5 minutes. But they could be life-threatening if somebody's having a seizure and they fall and hit their head.
Okay.
So it's a consequence
Okay.
of the seizure itself.
And then what's happening in the brain of someone who's having a seizure? Do we know that?
our brain cells communicate with each other through electrical signals. And what happens in a simple way is that it goes haywire. It's like an electric shock in your brain. And so what I want to point out with that, that's a good question, Megan, is that there's all of this abnormal electrical activity, and then when the seizure stops and they're settling down, the person may seem disoriented, confused, not really knowing where they are, because think about how circuits have to settle down. That's what's happening in their brain. Yeah.
So if you do get to the point where you think you need to go to the doctor over a seizure situation, can they do a test to know that you had a seizure? How do you actually know you had a seizure?
Sure. So it depends on whether you just had the seizure, if it's a new seizure.
Or if you say, 3 months ago, right.
Right. Sometimes it's really hard to figure out, Chris. So if you had what you thought was a seizure three months ago, they're going to do an electroencephalogram to see if they're seeing any abnormal electrical activity in the brain. Generally, you don't, because you had the seizure, it's over, and you're back to normal. But the other important thing that's going to happen if you've had your first seizure is you're going to get a CAT scan or an MRI, because what we said earlier, strokes, head trauma, tumors, you want to really make sure there's nothing inside of there that is triggering that. But another thing that doctors will ask you about, and you should be very honest about, is whether or not you were using drugs, withdrawing from alcohol. Marijuana can create in some people a lower seizure threshold, causing a seizure. I've seen that in people that I know. And so if you do have any activity, a seizure activity, answer all those questions really honestly, because you do want to get to the root cause of what caused it. 50% of people with epilepsy, we never get to the root cause, but for the other 50%, you can. If you remove that cause, you don't have those seizures anymore. And with the medications, as well as removing the offending elements, 2/3 of people with epilepsy can live a very normal life.
What would you remove? What are some of the things that would be removed to help somebody with epilepsy? Do we know?
Well, if you're ingesting drugs, alcohol withdrawal, those things. If somebody has a brain tumor, and the brain tumor is addressed, that will get better. And the other thing is that, for people that just do have epilepsy, with an unknown cause, you can control and sometimes prevent the seizures being very compliant with your medication. And the medications now are much easier to tolerate than they were in the past. Lifestyle modifications, so avoiding the triggers, sleeplessness, stress, alcohol, that's a big one. I brought that up 3 times now.
Yeah, but it's true.
And flashing lights in some individuals could be a trigger, so you could prevent them as well.
For people who have epilepsy, there are lots of technologies and even more becoming more and more available for them to be able to live more safely with epilepsy.
Absolutely. So many more than when I was doing my training years ago. One of the newest ones that's getting a lot of attention is one that combines an app, an Epi Watch with the Apple Watch. And what it does is that it detects the abnormal movements. It may not detect one of those really absence-or subtle seizures, but it's going to detect abnormal movements. It's going to send a trigger to a caregiver so that they can check in on you and make sure you're okay. And it's also going to send some signal of activity to your doctor. And so this was just FDA approved to be a seizure detection. It's not a seizure prevention, but seizure detection. So we're really excited about that one. And there are other technologies for people that have really resistant seizures to medication. There are other electrical devices that can be inserted into the body, into the brain, to change the electrical pattern of the brain and try to control that.
Really great information, Arkel. Thank you so much.
So many people have it. Thanks for talking about it.
We appreciate it. For more information, more medical news, and how it impacts you, make sure that you check out Arkel's podcast. It is called Speak Up for Your Health, and we posted a link to episodes on our site, minnesotalive.com.